I'm not one to snoop. I never had a reason to. When you've been with someone for almost a decade and the bills are paid, no one's cheating on their diet, and the house is quiet, you let people do their thing. You don't question a Tuesday night yoga class or a Saturday morning meeting with the client. You don't stop to think, hey, maybe that's not what she's doing, because you're too busy believing in the structure you helped build. That was me, head down, working night shifts at the hospital, patching up car crash and drunks with broken jaws while my wife, Allison, played house in a way I never thought twice about. Until last Thursday. Thursday was nothing special at first. I took a quick shower and grabbed a beer. The house was quiet, as usual. Allison had texted earlier that she was out with a client, a property developer she'd been working with for a few weeks. She's an interior designer, so this made sense. She said they were looking at potential spaces to convert into boutique rentals. Whatever. She'd been getting more ambitious lately, talking about owning her own design studio and all that. I supported it. Always had. But that night, I was too tired to care about real estate talk. I passed out on the couch halfway through an old episode of Top Gear. Around 1 a.m., I woke up to a strange sound. Not footsteps or anything sinister. It was a humming sound. Low, mechanical. The kind you hear in hotels when there's a generator running. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and realized the light in the hallway was on. The weird part was, that hallway leads only to one room. The storage room. We called it the Red Room. Not because it was painted red, but because it had this old red velvet couch we picked up at an estate sale 3 years ago. The room was supposed to be her office, but she never used it. At least, that's what I thought. I walked toward the room quietly, out of instinct more than suspicion. The door was ajar. I peeked in and saw something I couldn't process right away. There was a camera setup, tripod, lights, a laptop connected to the whole thing. The couch had been moved against the wall, and there were clothes scattered on the floor. Not just any clothes. Lingerie. Stuff I had never seen before. And Allison was there, still in her heels, sitting cross-legged on the couch, holding a mask in her hand and laughing. With someone else. It wasn't a man, at least not there in the room. But the laptop screen showed a video call. Some guy on the other end, face half-shadowed, shirtless. She was blowing kisses to him, saying things like, "You're lucky I'm giving you this much tonight, and you know you'll have to pay more next time." It took a second for my brain to click. She was streaming. She had a whole setup. The Red Room wasn't for storage anymore. It was her studio. I backed away before she saw me. My heart was hammering in my ears. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and stared at the floor. Not because I didn't know what to do. Oh, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, but because I couldn't believe what I'd just witnessed. My wife had been broadcasting herself live to some random creep. Maybe multiple creeps. Maybe hundreds. This wasn't about some emotional affair or flirty text messages. This was a business. A hidden life. A betrayal that was happening inside my house. In a room I thought was full of winter coats and forgotten boxes. She came out about 20 minutes later, acting like nothing had happened. Her hair was slightly messed up, and she smelled like expensive perfume I'd never bought her. She walked past me in her robe, kissed my forehead, and said, "You fell asleep again, babe. Long shift." I didn't answer, just nodded. I needed more than a confrontation. I needed the whole story, the scope, the timeline. So I played along. The next morning, I told her I had agreed to pick up a double shift to cover for a coworker. She smiled and said, "You work too hard," then kissed me goodbye like she always did. The moment she left, I went back into the Red Room. The setup was still there. Cables tucked neatly behind the couch. Ring light, laptop, tripod. I checked the browser history. Pages and pages of usernames, chats, payments. It wasn't just some hobby. This was full-time, cash-flowing betrayal. And then I found it. The folder labeled Client Files. Hundreds of videos. Private shows. Requests. Payment logs. She had been doing this for months, maybe longer. I didn't even recognize the woman in some of the videos. Her voice was different. Her behavior. I don't know how else to say it. She was someone else in that room. Someone I didn't know. Someone I never married. When she came home that evening, I was sitting in the living room with a beer and a folder full of printed screenshots on the coffee table. She walked in and froze. Her face changed. Not fear, anger. She dropped her purse, crossed her arms, and said, "So you went through my stuff?" I didn't answer right away. I just stared at her, trying to connect this person to the woman I married. You want to explain what all this is? I finally asked. She didn't deny it. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She rolled her eyes and sat down across from me. It's work, she said flatly. It's my body, my time, and I didn't think I needed your permission. I stared at her. You've been lying to me. In our house. Using a room 10 feet from where I sleep. It's not like I'm bringing anyone here, she shot back. You want to talk betrayal? You're never home. You're married to that hospital. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So this is my fault? She shrugged. You never asked. There it was. The sentence that broke something in me. I never asked. As if betrayal is excused by silence. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. Instead, I stood up, picked up the folder, and said, I want you out. Today. Don't argue. Don't negotiate. You've got your secret life. Go live in it. Somewhere else. She didn't move. She just stared at me, cold and calm. You really think you can kick me out? This is my house too. I looked her dead in the eye. You don't get to live here for free while selling yourself to strangers and lying to my face. If you won't leave, I will. And I did. I packed a duffel with enough for a few days, took my keys, and walked out without looking back. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I stayed at a cheap extended stay motel on the south side of town, the kind of place where no one makes eye contact and the vending machine is always out of everything. I didn't sleep the first night. I sat on that hard mattress, staring at the ceiling, playing through every memory of the past 6 months, trying to see what I missed. It wasn't just about catching her doing something wrong. It was the realization that I had been living beside someone who created a whole separate life inside our home and looked me in the eye every day without blinking. The videos, the calls, the payment logs, that was her real job. Her real focus. The clients were real people, not just usernames. When I got back to work the next day, I moved like a robot. Everyone thought I was tired. Technically, they weren't wrong. I wasn't ready to tell anyone. Not yet. Not before I figured out what I wanted to do with it. I didn't want pity or advice. I didn't want anyone making it into their drama. I just needed clarity, and I sure as hell wasn't going to get it sitting in that motel room drinking tap water from a cracked glass. So I made a decision. I wasn't just going to walk away quietly and let her keep pretending. I wanted to know who else knew. Were any of our friends part of it? Did her clients know she was married? Was this just some online double life? Or was there more behind the curtain? I already knew how careful she was. She used encrypted apps, cleared histories, had fake names for everything. That folder she left on her desktop by accident or laziness or confidence was a rare slip. I wasn't going to count on another one. That weekend, while she was out, probably smiling on a screen for someone who sent her $20 to call them a good boy, I used the spare key I never gave back and got back into the house. I wasn't there to trash anything or confront her. I went straight to the red room. Everything was off. Equipment neatly put away. The velvet couch spotless, not even a cushion out of place. She'd even replaced the curtains with blackout ones. I opened the laptop. Password protected, of course, but I already knew her old ones. After a few failed tries, I remembered her favorite movie. That did it. I was in. There were folders she thought were hidden, buried in subfolders with boring names like invoices and design sketches. But inside were clips. Lots of them. Some dated over a year ago. She'd been doing this before she even told me she wanted to go freelance. I clicked through a few just long enough to understand that she wasn't playing dress-up for tips. These weren't quick side gigs. These were custom performances with dialogue, props, lighting, and requests being met with rehearsed precision. And in the background of some of them, I could hear the sounds from our kitchen. The beeping of the old microwave. My voice once, calling out that dinner was ready. She must have edited it out later. That moment nearly made me punch the screen. I clicked into a folder labeled Repeat Clients. Dozens of names. Pseudonyms, sure, but she kept notes on them. Preferences, budgets, time zones. I recognized 2 email addresses right away. One belonged to a guy who worked in our friend circle, someone we'd had over for drinks last month. He complimented her outfit that night. Called it bold. I felt like throwing up. I copied everything. All of it. Onto a flash drive I'd brought. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet, but I wanted it in my hands. Not as evidence for court or blackmail, but because I needed to know I wasn't imagining all of this. That it wasn't just a bad dream I'd wake up from. Right as I was wrapping up, I heard a door downstairs. My stomach sank. She was back early. I didn't panic. I shut the laptop, stuffed the flash drive into my sock, and locked the door behind me as I stepped out. She was in the kitchen, pulling something from the fridge. She turned, surprised to see me. "I thought you were staying at that motel near the hospital," she said, like I'd just dropped by for coffee. "I came to get a few things." She narrowed her eyes, probably sensing something wasn't right. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "I have." I walked past her without saying more. My heart was racing, but my legs kept moving. I didn't owe her a meltdown. Not yet. Not in that house. Back at the motel, I loaded the files onto a secure cloud account. I sat there and watched 2 more clips. Not out of curiosity. I needed the reality of it to burn into me. I needed to stop hoping it was a misunderstanding. It wasn't. It was a choice she made over and over again. She didn't stumble into this life. She built it. Carefully. While I was in scrubs, stitching up strangers and working night shifts to keep a roof over our heads. It was real. All of it. Now the question was, what the hell was I going to do next? 3 days later, I walked back into the house like it was mine again. I didn't call ahead, didn't text. I waited until I knew she'd be there, early evening, when she usually made tea and scrolled on her phone like the world outside didn't exist. She was in the kitchen again. Same place, same routine, like nothing ever changed. The place even smelled like citrus cleaner, probably trying to convince herself that everything was clean and safe, that her little hidden world hadn't been dragged into the light. She saw me, blinked once, and leaned against the counter with her arms crossed. She didn't say hello. She didn't smile. Just looked at me like I was a bill collector, or worse, someone interrupting her peace. "I know everything," I said. I kept my voice low, not because I wanted to sound mysterious, but because I knew if I started yelling, it wouldn't stop. She didn't respond right away, just kept staring at me with that stiff look she used when she wanted to pretend she was calm. I dropped a folder on the table, copies of the files I pulled from her laptop. "It's all there. You can play dumb, or we can stop wasting time." She glanced down at the folder but didn't open it. "You had no right to go through my computer." I laughed once, not out of amusement, but disbelief. "You had no right to turn our home into a studio for strangers to watch you like some reality show contestant. You did this under my roof, in our house, and you're telling me about rights." "It's my body, my business," she snapped, louder this time. "You think just because you pay half the bills, you own me? You think I care about money?" I walked closer, keeping myself steady, even though every word she said pushed something deeper into my gut. "You lied. Every single day. You made a second life in our house and acted like I was crazy for thinking something was off. You let me cook for you, sleep beside you, talk about our future, all while you were entertaining strangers online for cash. And I don't even care if they were tipping $2 or 1,000. It's the fact that you were doing it behind my back and pretending everything was fine." She pushed off the counter and walked past me toward the hallway like she was done, like the conversation was something she could just step away from. I'm not going to stand here and be judged by someone who checked out of this relationship months ago. I followed her. "Don't pull that excuse. I worked 12-hour shifts saving lives while you were in the next room pretending to be someone else for strangers. I didn't check out, I was working. I didn't disappear, I was there every single day. You chose to check out. You built your fantasy and left me out of it." She turned around fast and pointed a finger at me. "You didn't ask me how I felt for months. You barely noticed when I was tired or distant. You acted like the house ran on autopilot, like everything was normal just because you showed up and went to sleep on time. Because I trusted you." I finally raised my voice, louder than I meant to, but it was the only thing that felt natural. "Because I thought we had something real. I didn't think I needed to check your emotions every 5 minutes like I was dealing with a fragile piece of glass." "You think this is about emotions?" she snapped. "I wanted control. I wanted something that was mine. You come home smelling like hospitals, too tired to talk, too numb to care, and I'm just supposed to wait around until you recharge." I stared at her, trying to connect this angry, sharp person with the woman I married. "You could have talked to me. You could have said you were struggling. But you didn't. You turned to strangers. You gave them your time, your attention, your voice. You made them feel special while I sat in silence waiting for my wife to come back." Her voice lowered, but the anger didn't fade. "And you think confronting me like this fixes anything? You think yelling and blaming is going to change what's been done?" "No," I said. "I think it makes it real. I think you need to hear it out loud from the person you betrayed." We stood there in silence for a while, staring at each other. No one moved. No one blinked. I could feel the tension between us like something pushing the air down. She looked away first. Always the same when she was cornered. She walked back toward the kitchen, picked up her tea, and took a sip like the argument didn't just tear the last thread between us. "I guess we're done here," she said. "We were done the minute you chose strangers over me." She didn't respond to that. She walked down the hall, closed the red room door behind her, and I heard the lock click. I stood in that kitchen, staring at the cup she left on the counter, still warm, still steaming. I didn't throw it. I didn't yell again. I just stood there and let the weight settle. There was no apology coming. No breakdown, no confession. She didn't care that she got caught. She just hated that I found out. It didn't take long for me to realize I couldn't walk away quietly. Leaving the house, disappearing to some new apartment, and starting fresh would have been too easy for her. She'd go right back to her side job, maybe move the setup to a different room, maybe even get more creative now that there was no one around to catch her. She might tell her friends I lost my mind, or that we just grew apart. I wasn't about to hand her that kind of soft ending. She didn't deserve silence, and she sure didn't deserve to carry on with no consequences. So I planned something that would hit where it mattered. I didn't need to scream or trash the house. I didn't need to post about it online like some attention-starved teenager. I just needed her world to look like mine did the night I found out. Broken, exposed, and quiet in a way that makes a person sweat. First, I sent an anonymous email to her top 5 clients. I picked the ones she had saved with the highest pay history and the ones that had detailed notes. I told them their little sessions were recorded and archived, that their data had been compromised. I attached a single frame from one of the videos, just enough for them to recognize the scene, their room, their chat name, but not enough to be legally problematic. I said I wasn't asking for anything, just informing them that this wasn't as private as they thought. I told them she'd been keeping records, payment logs, timestamps, conversation summaries. I knew they'd panic. Half of those guys probably had families. The other half just didn't want their names dragged into anything ugly. Then I went a step further. I knew she had a brand deal with a small luxury furniture company. She'd been showing off their pieces in her videos and tagging them in her posts from her professional design page. She used those clips to sell a fantasy. I sent them a very polite, well-crafted email from another burner account with screenshots of her workspace, complete with toys, props, and chat windows in the background. I didn't even need to lie. I just said, "You may want to know how your brand is being used in promotional content." That was enough. 2 days later, I checked her social media and saw her design page was taken down. She didn't post for another week. That same week, I reached out to her sister, the one who thought she was a role model, always praising her for being independent and creative. I didn't send anything explicit, just sent a link to the public version of one of her cam profiles, the kind she used to bring in new subscribers. I let the profile do the talking. Her sister never replied, but I saw that she unfollowed Allison on everything within 24 hours. Family dinners won't be as cheerful after that. It was all quiet for a few days. I waited. I watched. Then she called. "What did you do?" Her voice was tight, low, like she was holding back rage. I sat back in my chair, calm. "You're going to have to be more specific. You know what I'm talking about. The emails. My page is down. My clients are freaking out. You think this is funny?" I didn't laugh. "I think you've had it too easy. I think walking around like you did nothing wrong while I was breaking apart was funny. This is just balance." She let out a short breath like she couldn't believe I wasn't panicking. "You're ruining everything. My work, my reputation." "Your reputation? You ruined that. You chose this, not me." "I didn't hurt anyone," she snapped. "You hurt me," I said, finally letting my voice rise a bit. "You lied to me every single day. You used our house, our life, and turned it into a show for strangers. And you think this is me being unfair?" There was silence on the other end. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback ready. "You made this mess," I said. "Now you get to live in it." She hung up without another word. The fallout wasn't immediate, but it came in waves. A mutual friend of ours, someone from her old design firm, messaged me asking if the rumors were true. I didn't confirm or deny. I just said she might want to ask Allison directly. Word spread fast in her little professional circle. Jobs dried up. Clients stopped reaching out. She had built her name on trust, on design taste and business sense. Now she was just another online personality with a messy reputation. She tried damage control, made a vague post about being targeted by personal attacks and facing unfair judgment. It didn't matter. The people she depended on were already gone. The sponsors, the regulars, the social media admiration, all of it slipped away. Meanwhile, I started getting better. I moved into a better place, signed up for overtime at work, kept my head down. People asked where Allison was. I said we were separated. That was it. No one needed the full story unless they were part of it. The funny part is she never apologized. Not once. She never said sorry. Never admitted she was wrong. That told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was just sorry that it didn't stay hidden. I didn't expect her to ask to meet. After everything, after the silence and the fallout, I figured she'd disappear into her own world, block me on everything, maybe try to start fresh with a new name or a different platform. But 1 week after our last phone call, she sent a message through my brother. Not through mutual friends, not through social media, my brother. She told him she wanted to talk in person. Just once. He asked if I was okay with that. I told him I'd think about it. Took me 2 days before I said yes. Not because I wanted to give her a chance to explain anything. Not because I missed her. I just needed to close it out the right way, on my own terms, not with silence. We met at a small diner just outside the city. One of those places where the coffee's always average and the servers don't ask questions. I picked it because it was neutral ground. No memories. No history. Just a place to sit across from each other without pretending to be something we weren't anymore. She showed up wearing sunglasses like she was hiding from the world, even though it was cloudy and no one cared who she was. She slid into the booth, took them off, and stared at me like she was trying to figure out which version of me she was dealing with. "Thanks for agreeing to this," she said. Her voice was soft, but not shaky. She wasn't nervous. Just cautious. I didn't waste time. "Say what you need to say." She sighed and looked down at her hands. "I know I hurt you. I know what I did was wrong. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I didn't mess up." I stayed quiet. Let her talk. I wasn't interested in saving her dignity. I was here to watch it unravel on its own. "I didn't start all of this to hurt you," she continued. "I was trying to find something for myself. It got out of hand. I didn't know how to stop." "You didn't want to stop," I said. "Don't lie now." She looked up. I was sharper now. Maybe at some point I didn't. I was getting attention, money, control. It felt good. Better than waiting for you to come home tired and silent. "You mean better than being honest," I replied. "Better than fixing what was broken." Her mouth tightened. "You weren't listening. You think I just flipped a switch one day and decided to do this for fun?" I felt invisible for months. "And you think I felt seen?" I leaned forward slightly. "I gave you everything I had. Time, support, a home. I worked myself into the ground so you could chase your dreams. And instead of talking to me, you set up lights and cameras and started performing for people who don't even know your last name." "I was wrong," she said. "I'm not trying to justify it." I sat back. "Then why are we here?" She paused, then finally said it. "Because I don't want it to end like this. I know we can't fix it, but I don't want to leave it all in pieces." "It's already in pieces," I told her. "And you didn't try to stop any of it until your life fell apart. Until people saw who you really were." "That's not fair," she said. "You think I'm only sorry because I got caught?" "Yes," I said without hesitation. "Because you didn't come clean. You didn't end it on your own. You kept it going until I found the files. Until I pulled everything apart myself." She went quiet again. The server came by, asked if we wanted anything. I said no. She ordered tea, then stared at the menu without reading it. I watched her sit there trying to piece together the right thing to say. But it didn't matter. There was nothing that could change where we were now. "I'm going to leave the house," she finally said. "You can have it. I don't want anything from you." "That's not your call anymore," I replied. "The lawyer will handle it." Her shoulders dropped slightly, like the last bit of control had slipped through. "I guess that's fair. I'm not interested in punishing you anymore," I said. "But I'm also not giving you a chance to twist this into a misunderstanding. You chose this path, and now you can walk it alone." She looked up at me one last time, eyes tired. "You really don't love me anymore, do you?" I didn't flinch. "No. That ended the night I found out who you really were." She nodded, pushed her tea away before it even arrived, and stood up. "I'll get my things this weekend. Let me know when you're not home." "Don't take anything that isn't yours," I said. She gave a slight nod, then turned and walked out without saying goodbye. I watched her go, not out of sadness, but to make sure I never saw her again. She came on a Sunday morning while I was at work. I let her. I didn't want to see her again, didn't want another conversation, another argument, or some weird attempt to leave behind something sentimental. I told her clearly through a text, "Take what you brought into the marriage and leave the rest untouched. If anything goes missing, I'll have a record." I didn't say it as a threat. I said it as a fact. I wasn't giving her a chance to turn one last moment into a scene. When I got home, I walked through the house, checked every room. She left quietly. The red room was empty, equipment gone, couch still there, but stripped of everything she'd added to it. Her closet was mostly cleared out, toothbrush gone, dresser half empty. Nothing left but a few cheap candles and a book she probably forgot she owned. The air in the house didn't feel heavy anymore, just quiet. The divorce papers were already in motion. I'd filed 2 weeks earlier. My lawyer worked fast and clean. I had evidence. I had the story in writing, and she didn't have much room to argue. She didn't fight back. Maybe she thought she'd lose more if she pushed. Maybe she just didn't care anymore. In the end, we agreed on the basics. No shared property battles, no drawn-out drama. It was all over in less than a month. One envelope in the mail, one final signature, and it was done. I kept working the same shifts, same hospital, same faces. People started noticing I was different, but not in a way that invited questions. I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was just quieter. I didn't jump into conversations in the break room. I didn't stay late unless I had to. I went home, cooked, watched old documentaries, and tried to figure out what my next year would look like. I deleted every photo of her from my phone, packed up the wedding pictures, and dropped them in a storage box in the basement. I didn't need to throw them away. I just didn't want to look at them anymore. One night, I sat on the couch with a beer in my hand and thought about how everything unraveled in less than 4 weeks. It had taken years to build that life, and only a handful of days to watch it collapse. But I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even hurt. I was just clear. I saw everything for what it was. I saw myself for what I'd ignored. I didn't miss her. I didn't miss the version of her I'd imagined. I missed the idea of having someone who was supposed to be on my side. But once I saw how far she'd drifted, I realized she hadn't been on my side for a long time. My brother stopped by one night, brought beer, said nothing for the first 10 minutes, then finally looked at me and asked, "You good?" I nodded. Getting there. He sipped and stared at the TV, some random sports rerun playing. Never thought she'd do something like that. I shrugged. Me neither. But here we are. She ever say why? She had 100 reasons. None of them meant anything. He stayed for another hour. Didn't try to fix anything. Didn't give advice. Just sat there, which was what I needed more than anything else. After he left, I realized I didn't feel alone. I felt like I had space. Real space. No lies, no fake smiles, no second life hiding behind doors. Just quiet, honest space. The weeks that followed were steady. I picked up some hobbies again. Went back to playing guitar a bit. Rejoined a gym I used to go to. Talked to people without feeling like I was pretending to be okay. I didn't talk about her unless someone directly asked. When they did, I just said, "We're done." Things happened. I moved on. That was enough. Sometimes, I wonder if she regrets it. If she sits somewhere with her laptop closed, wondering how it all fell apart. But it doesn't matter. Whether she regrets it or not doesn't change a thing. The damage is done. The marriage is over. And what's left is mine to rebuild. The biggest thing I learned is that people can live beside you for years without showing you who they really are. And it's not your job to keep guessing. It's your job to see the truth when it's right in front of you and act on it. I didn't want revenge for the sake of hurting her. I wanted balance. And now I have it. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I'm just starting over, without lies, without second chances that don't matter, and without someone who didn't care enough to be honest the first time. That's all I needed. That's the end.